Have you ever been scrolling through your phone and seen that couple? You know, the one that looks perfect. They're always laughing, wearing cool matching clothes, going on awesome vacations, living a flashy life. And their life looks like a fairy tale. In 2020, 24-year-old Andre Rebelo was living that kind of life. He had everything life had to offer, at least from the outside, that is. Andre is doing great as a cryptocurrency trader, has a beautiful girlfriend, an adorable 18-month-old, and a loving family. He and his girlfriend, Grace, portray a glamorous and perfect lifestyle on social media. But unknown to admirers, Andre is sinking into debt. In fact, Andre is living his picture perfect life on credit and made only $22 in all of his crypto trades in the past 3 years, despite his image as a self-styled cryptocurrency expert online. But Grace doesn't know that, at least not at the time. Andre made her believe for years that he was making a lucrative income from his side hustle. Slowly but surely, Grace begins to lose patience with her boyfriend because there is no money to show forth from his so-called profitable business. One day, during an argument about his side hustle, Andre tells his girlfriend that he is about to hit the jackpot from his business, a sum of $500,000. But where does this guy intend to get the money from? Unknown to his girlfriend, Andre is hatching a dark and evil plot that will end in murder. Hello and welcome to True Crime with Runke. Thank you so much for joining me today. Kindly subscribe and turn on your notification bell so you never miss an upload from me. Let's take a look at this case. On May 25, 2020, first responders received a call and rushed to the home of Colleen Rebelo, a 58-year-old single mother, and found her already deceased. Although her death was sudden and unexpected, it didn't look suspicious, and an autopsy was unable to identify the cause of death. But let me backtrack to when Colleen was last seen alive. She dropped off her youngest son Fabian at a local supermarket where he resumed at 10 a.m. When she failed to pick him up at 2 p.m. as planned, he called her several times without a response. So he walked about 15 minutes to the family home where he lived alone with his mom. His 3 other siblings already moved out. When Fabian arrived home, he had the shower running in his mother's ensuite. So he called out her name several times. And when he didn't hear a response, he opened the door of her bedroom and found her unconscious. He called the emergency line and was given instructions to perform CPR on her. But she was pronounced dead when the paramedic arrived 5 minutes later. When the police arrived, they did not see any signs of forced entry or any indication of self-harm or wrongdoing. Before we go on, let me tell you a little about Colleen Rebelo. Colleen was a forward-thinking, determined, and resilient woman. She was a single parent for much of her children's lives after her divorce. Her children are Julian, Andre, Monique, and Fabian. Against all odds, she pursued her education, earning not 1 but 2 degrees. In fact, she had just recently completed her master's degree in public health policy before her death. Those close to her said she was happy and healthy even days before her demise. She was just about to embark on an exciting new career in public health after studying for 5 years and working in part-time jobs to support her family. Andre was studying construction management at university and driving delivery trucks on the side when his girlfriend, Grace Piscopo, who was a receptionist at a gym at the time, began posting photos on Instagram. And Grace is quite a beauty. In no time, she gains a large number of followers on social media, and clothing and accessory brands start to pay her to wear their items. And it does not take very long for the couple to realize a lot of money could be made if they turn social media into a full-time job. So as a result of all the fame and fortune, Andre deferred the last year of his management degree program to become his girlfriend's assistant and also agreed to be the primary carer of their son, who was born in 2019. By 2020, Grace had more than 1 million followers on Instagram and was raking in big bucks. Andre appeared to be successful in his trade. But the reality was that even though he was sinking money into his cryptocurrency also, with borrowed money from a credit card and a personal loan, all he could show for it was nothing but a $22 deficit after 3 years. Yet Andre and Grace continued to portray the fairy tale life online. But despite flaunting luxury cars and going on exotic holidays, the couple owed over $120,000, including $40,000 in personal debt, $70,000 for a car loan, and unpaid taxes owed by Grace was $40,000. By 2019, Andre, who handled the couple's finances, was unable to service those loans, and debt collectors began closing in on him. Letters, texts, and calls kept coming back to back, and pressure was mounting. Apart from external pressures, Andre was going through a rough time at home. Grace was becoming more popular and successful, but he was struggling. He felt stuck being a stay-at-home dad who was just mailing packages and answering emails for his girlfriend's growing business. It's not clear if his relationship with Grace had always been unequal, but by 2020, she didn't seem to respect him much at all. Truth is, after 3 years of Andre sinking money into a business and pretending that it was lucrative, Grace wasn't having it anymore. And to save face, Andre told her that he was about to make a large amount of money, a sum of $500,000, from his failed business. The question is, how did he intend to make that money? Unknown to Grace, Andre had devised a sinister plot to take his mom's life for an insurance payout. He took out 3 insurance policies worth $1.15 million and named himself the sole beneficiary. This case began when an insurance company employee alerted police because she suspected that Andre, Colleen's second son, was fraudulently attempting to claim her life insurance. Following the tip-off, police launched an investigation into the circumstances of Colleen's death. And what initially started off as a fraud investigation very quickly became a murder investigation. During the investigation, surveillance teams installed a listening device in Andre and Grace's home. On the day Colleen was found dead, her sister, who is a bus driver and lived in the same neighborhood with her, had just finished her shift at about 1:30 p.m. and was returning home when she noticed a white Land Rover outside her sister's house. At the time, she didn't know who owned the car, but at Colleen's funeral, she was parked next to the same white Land Rover that she saw outside her sister's house on the day she died. And on the day Colleen was found dead, Andre didn't mention to anyone that he came by her house. Not the cops, not his siblings, not his girlfriend. But when it was later discovered, he said that he forgot to mention it because he was in a state of shock. And to make this even more suspicious, Grace tried to call Andre more than a dozen times between 11:10 a.m. and 11:35 a.m. on that fateful day. When he didn't respond to his calls, she sent several messages asking him where he was and telling him to answer his phone. Let's explore more bizarre details of this case. Andre's older brother, Julian, who worked outside town, stayed in Perth for about 2 months after his mom's death to sort out her affairs, since he was the executor of her estate. During his stay, he discovered that his mother's driver's license was missing when he was dealing with one of our pension providers who asked for identification. Then he found out that Andre had her driver's license. Why would he need to have his mother's driver's license? Andre had no reason to be involved in his mother's estate because Julian was named the sole executor. Equally strange was that 2 notifications were sent from the post office to Colleen's house, redirecting her mail. Now, you know that to redirect your mail, you need to make a request. And you probably want to redirect your mail because you are moving out or temporarily relocating. When Julian got to the post office notification, he felt that it was some kind of fraud. After all, he didn't request for it. But to be sure, he asked the siblings in a group message if anyone had requested the mail to be redirected. In order not to appear suspicious, Andre replied along the lines of, "Yeah, I did it yesterday." He said he thought that it made sense in case there was a mail in the next couple of months and they needed, maybe probably they were going to sell their mom's house. At this time, there was no mention of selling their mom's house, but sure enough, Andre cancelled the mail redirection request because Julian continued to receive mail after that from their mom's house. Now, to give some context, the only reason Andre got his mom's psychologist involved was that to be able to claim the insurance payout, he had to provide proof that his mom's death was not by her own doing. This is why he phoned his mom's long-time psychologist and requested that she leave a 30-second voicemail for the insurance company. He wanted her to state who she was, the number of years she treated his mom, and that she believed that Colleen was not one to take her own life. According to the psychologist, Andre was putting pressure on her to work as fast as possible on his request. Since the psychologist had never met him, she wanted to speak to him in person, but he never showed up. Phone records show that Andre attempted to call the psychologist 21 times in 4 days between July 7 and July 10. As if that wasn't enough, he texted her several times urging her to make the call to the insurance company. He didn't stop there. He falsified his mother's will and dated it March 2nd, 2010. But oddly, the lawyers named as the creators of the will had never met Andre or Colleen, nor had they created or signed a will for Colleen. One of the lawyers named on the will was not yet a lawyer in 2010. And to make it even more bizarre, Andre named himself the executor of the will. Since the date on the will was 2010, Andre was still a minor because he was just 10 years old then. Even though Julian was the sole executor of Colleen's will, on several occasions Andre stepped forward and made calls and arrangements as if he was the executor. And even though Andre admitted that he forged his mom's medical report from her psychologist, the coroner's report, and even her will, he pleaded not guilty to killing his mother. But the question is, why did he begin to hound insurers barely days after his mother's death? Why did he forge several documents just to lay claim on her life insurance? An insurance his mom never knew existed. And why did he name himself the sole beneficiary? Why didn't he tell the police on the day his mom died that he visited her and was the last person to see her alive? Why did he not pick up his girlfriend's call or reply her messages in the 45 to 50 minute period he was in his mom's house? There are so many whys. Recall that Andre and Grace's home was bugged. And in the recordings, Grace was complaining that Andre was being framed for murdering his mother to get her money. In the recording, she questions Andre about why he didn't pick up his phone or answer her text messages on the day Colleen was found dead. And in the recording, Andre admits to Grace that he committed insurance fraud. By the way, Grace has no hand in the fraud committed by Andre or Colleen's death. So what exactly happened when Andre visited his mom on that fateful day? According to Andre, his visit lasted between 45 to 50 minutes. He and his mom discussed about life insurance policies over coffee. Then he dropped off a bag of clothes for Fabian and told her he loved her and thereafter left. Now, let me break down the theory provided in court of what happened in May 2020 on that fateful day. Andre went to his mom's house under the guise that he wanted to drop off clothes for his brother. But when he was there, he unalived her. Her cause of death could not be determined, but there's a theory he unalived her before putting her body in the shower to make it look like she died a natural or accidental death. He then went back home and acted like it was just another day. In other words, in the words of his girlfriend, or should I say his ex-girlfriend, he acted like it was just an ordinary day. When Fabian got home and found Colleen's body in the shower, he called paramedics and later on his siblings. At no time did Andre mention that he had seen his mom hours earlier on that day. Now, Colleen was wearing makeup and jewelry when she was found in the shower. Thus the shower mat was draped over the bath, even though the shower was running. I'm not sure why investigators didn't find that suspicious the first time. Why would Andre, who was broke and in debt, be interested in wanting to take out life insurance for his mom? As you know, the premiums could be pretty high with age, and he knew that he would continue to pay those premiums for as long as his mom was alive. There was no way he could afford to pay insurance premiums for long, which was why barely a week later, he took her life. Besides, Colleen didn't need Andre to take out life insurance on her behalf. She could have done that herself without his input or help. Colleen Rebelo had an exciting career ahead of her and was looking forward to starting a new job after years of studying. She was a loving mother who cared and devoted herself to her children and had a great relationship with them. I feel like she lived most of her life for her children, trying to raise them as best as she could. And just when it was time to start to live for herself, Andre, her son, took her life. Andre has been found guilty of murder and will be sentenced in April 2025. Let's continue this conversation in the comment section. Please stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.